Wow, it's another exciting day, and I'm happy to do this one because there's news on the table. There's reason for us to come together and have conversations. By the way, shout out to everyone who reached out to us, thanking us for the wonderful message that we put out in Halogen for the wonderful presentation. We will continue to do that. We'll continue to do that because we know that is what God has mandated us to do for our community. And that's the reason why we are doing this also. Despite the busy schedule, despite the tight schedule, when things come up that we feel our community needs to know about, we will hurry up, we will set up something, and we will have these conversations. Boss, welcome.
Thank you, Toride. Thank you. Always exciting to be here.
Yeah, there's a big news. You want break am for us?
Big news is that there's a lot happening in the at Congress right now. They're trying to push what they call the big fat tax bill or the big beautiful bill.
Mhm.
Um, we are expecting to see significant changes in the tax code, and which would impact everybody at every level where we are. Your taxes are going to change. And if you look at what's happening today, I mean, up to now, the IRS is this huge um, uh, organization. It employs about 103,000 people. And if you look at the past few months, that number was already reduced. It's been reduced by some 15,000 people, and there are plans to reduce more. So there's a lot of people who are leaving the IRS right now. And if you think about what was happening maybe 4 years ago, we talked about the IRS adding 80,000 new people to make sure that we were able to comply. They were all going. There was this what you call there was this zeal to add more people to compliance to do make things happen, to do certain things. Now the whole tendency has changed. We want to reduce the number of people, so we're reducing people, and the goal is to make it more efficient. And for those of us who work in that, who work with the IRS quite a bit, we're already seeing a shift in the terms in the way some of the systems that we used to use in the past are being affected by this. I don't know whether it's a great thing or it's a negative thing, but what you want to know is that there's a huge impact. There's a huge thing happening with the tax bill. There's this big, beautiful tax bill that's coming up. That's the way they call it. So let's talk about it. Today, we're going to talk about that tax bill and see what's in there for you.
Yeah, I was going. That was going to be my next question. Some of the details, because when we hear about the tax bill or we hear about tax, we hear about changes. The first thing I've learned to do in America is to worry how you come in, how it's going to affect you positively or negatively, so you can start taking advantage if it's going to be positive. So, what are some of the details?
Oh, I mean, there are so many things. And again, you have to understand that this is still a proposed bill.
Mhm.
The Ways and Means Commission, they are already looking at the bill. And if you listen to what was happening at Congress last, was it yesterday? They had to table it. Was it yesterday or today? They have to table that bill for an initial vote in Congress. What are some of the key things about that bill is that they are projecting to reduce the tax bill, the tax revenue by some $4.1 trillion. $4.1 trillion by the year 2038. And then they are seeing that their projections is showing that during that time, the GDP is going to grow by some 0.6%. So they are reducing government revenue, but it's going to increase GDP. And then the Tax Cut and Jobs Act, which was supposed to expire this year, is all coming back to play. The TGCA, as they call it, Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, was enacted in 2017 for those, just as a reminder. And it
Mhm.
had significant changes to our tax bill. Many people thought said it was just for the wealthy. Well, as a tax professional, having looked at the tax bill, the proposals this year, I think there's a lot of things there that we should be excited about. But the goal is to reduce taxes. So if the goal is to reduce taxes, then we should be excited. There's something that's going to happen. We'll talk about them today.
Wow. No,
Oh,
but
do you want me? If you want, I can continue. I can
yeah,
continue.
you can continue, man. I was just listening, and I just want to hear more.
So let me tell you some of the things that are going to happen. Again, the reason we feel this is going to happen is because the current administration, they own the House and they own the Senate. The presidency, so we have the executive and the legislative. They all belong to the current administration. And if we want to look at what has happened so far, Trump has gotten his way. So there's nothing, I mean, there's no indication that this bill is going to have any significant difficulties to passing it. There's always going to be things that are being discussed here and there. But the core of that bill is going to be passed. We know that. So the first thing that is in the bill is that the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act is going to be maintained. It was going to expire this year.
Mhm.
What does that mean? It means that certain things in the tax code, for example, one of the big ones was had to do with depreciation. Depreciation was one of the big areas where people were very concerned. Those who are investing in assets, in real estate, in property. Depreciation, we had this thing called bonus depreciation, which was going to expire in 2025. Now it's going to be basically in 2025, we're talking about 40%. But what is in that tax bill is saying that it is effective starting the 25th of January of 2025. So they are going to roll it back to the beginning of January 2025. That bill, I mean, we are going back to 100% bonus depreciation. 100 bonus depreciation, what that means for many people is that those of you who are in business, you can write off your assets in year one. So you still have section 179 to take, but you also have this big section, this big bonus depreciation that is available for you 100%. And it allows you to make a big, big loss, paper loss. For those of you, you make a big paper loss, and then you can write off, and then it saves you huge on taxes. Another thing, I'll just read my notes here.
Mhm.
Another thing was, remember that thing that they call itemized deduction. Itemized deductions in the 2017 tax bill, we had this, they had reduced itemized deductions significantly, because those of us who had something called the state and local taxes, where you had property taxes for those who have big homes, all these property taxes, they were all reduced. So you could pay your property taxes for maybe $20,000, $30,000, but you can only reduce for all state and local taxes. It was limited to $10,000. Now this bill has moved that number, and it goes to $30,000. So 30 is multiplied by 3. So for those who are using itemized deduction, you will see a big jump in your itemized deduction. Another thing that is in play here is that the child tax credit, advanced child tax credit, which was basically you take about $1,500 per child, that has been added. I think there's an addition for at every level, whether you're married filing separate, or you're married, or you're single, or you're married filing joint, or you're head of household. There's been some significant increases on that number in terms of the tax bill to put more money in your pocket. Another thing is that thing that they call, I mean, this is for wealthy people, all those people who are private equity people who are making huge amounts of money. All these, how do they call them? All these people who had this, they call it carried interest loophole. This carried interest means that for those of you, I mean, all these people who are in the, I'm sorry, for some reason I need to drink some water. For all these people who are in private equity, all these joint venture people, private equity managers, venture capitalist fund managers, they used to have a lot of. So basically, these people earn their income. They earn income based on managing other people's portfolio, based on managing the assets of others. For some reason, even though they are managing their income, they get huge amounts of billions of dollars. Even though they are managing just the assets of people who are investing as passive long-term investors, their income, which is a big portion, is coming from the investments of all those people. Their income was being charged at a capital gains tax rate, which is a very low tax rate. This tax bill is basically removing that loophole, allowing them to pay more in taxes. So for those, these are high income earners, they are going to pay more in taxes. That's something you may want to see there. Standard deduction as well. Standard deduction, they are saying that they are going to, for seniors, they are going to increase the standard deduction for seniors. What else? One big one for those of us who are on overtime. Most of us in the low income people, we work a lot of overtime because that's how we supplement our income. This bill is going to remove taxes on overtime. That's a big one. Taxes on overtime, because I see a lot of people who say, I don't want to work anymore because when I work, I'm just working for the government. They're taking all my overtime is being taken in taxes. This bill is going to remove taxes on overtime. And for those of us who are working as bartenders, we're getting a lot of tips. There is no tax on tips in this bill. Another one, I mean, these are significant changes. Another one is, for those of us, the seniors who are getting social security and other people who are on disability, you get social security. And for some reason, if you have any other type of income, that social security is taxed. Well, this new tax bill is completely removing taxes on social security. Hopefully that one gets passed. And then what else? I mean, there's so much to talk about in this bill. We've talked about SALT. We've talked about limitation on itemized deduction being made permanent. Itemized deduction are going to. I mean, we talked about it was 10,000. It's now 30. It's going to be $30,000. What else are we talking about? We talked about exemption on tips. And again, another one, auto loan. If you are buying a car, whether for business or for personal, again, if you buy a car, whether business or personal, the interest is related. The interest on that car that you pay for the loan on that car is going to be deductible as long as that car is made in the United States. Most of the parts of that car are made in the United States of America. There's a lot of things. And for those who are talking about energy credits, environmental credits, there's going to be a lot of rollback on there. I know environmentalists are very, very angry with this part of the bill because it's rolling back some of the things that have to do with climate change and things like that. But if you look at the big picture, this bill is reducing taxes for everybody. I mean, I don't care whether you are a pro-Trump or an anti-Trump. This bill, if passed in its current state, it's going to reduce taxes for everybody. Everybody at every level will feel the reduction in taxes as a result of this. Again, one other thing that comes in this bill, which is mainly for all those people who are high income earners. Think about this. That carried interest loophole, which was for all these fund managers who are these New York fund managers, it's going to be removed. What does that mean? They used to be paying their taxes at 20%. Their maximum tax rate was 20% because they were paying at capital gains tax rate, long-term capital gains. Now, all those income that is coming for them, it will be for ordinary income. And guess what? Not only are they going to move into the 37% tax bracket, which is the general tax bracket for everybody. The additional thing is that if you are a guy who is making over $3 million in income, you'll find that your tax bracket will go from now it's currently at 37%. The new tax code is adding that tax bracket to 39% for those high income earners. So again, whether you think this is for the wealthy or it's going to be for the smart people. If you are a smart person, no matter where you find yourself, you'll be able to take advantage of this tax bill. I talk about this because this is a huge, huge change to anyone who is seated here and who's thinking, hey, something is happening, who doesn't know what's happening. This is going to be a big change to our pockets. And if you are, for those of us who are strategists, it is a big, big, big player. It's adjusting our industry. We're thinking about how do you get to do this. I mean, my role, my game is always looking at the tax code. I'm looking at the tax code and seeing what is happening to the tax code. How would this affect my clients? How is this going to affect everybody I work with? And when I look at this tax code, I think it is going to be, I mean, it has all its flaws as well. I'm not saying here that it's a wonderful tax bill, but for those of us who've been thinking, hey, this tax bill has only been for the wealthy, I think this is going to affect everybody.
And I like the way you put it, because that's the reason why we encourage people to talk to persons like you. That is what you do. That is what you eat. That is what you sleep. That is what you, everything that you do is tax, 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 tax.
Mm.
Most of us don't even have the time. When we were talking this morning and you were sharing the news with me, in my head I was like, how did he even know all about all of this? Like, how did you get into all these details? Again, what I'm trying to say is that is his job. While you guys are sleeping, while I'm sleeping, while the most of us are out there making the money, people like him are looking for, okay, what are the loopholes? Whether we like it or not, whether we like it or not, that is how America was built, by people who are going to make laws. Make laws, and whether you like it or not, they consider certain persons before they make these laws. When I say certain persons, I'm not saying they just say, okay, we want to make laws to favor this person, but no, they consider, okay, what can we do to impact this group of people, because we know impacting this group of people is going to trickle down and impact every other person. People like him know those things, and they're going to see how they can take those laws, whether it was designed for A or B, but then push it in a way that it will actually come out to favor you, just like the government wanted it to favor you. Boss, I want to ask a little more question. I know my people are going to be asking, especially on the overtime thing. Now, if I remember very well, it's been long I did overtime, but if I remember very well, overtime was being double charged. So when you say they're not going to tax overtime, it doesn't mean that they're not completely taxing overtime, or it's not going to be the double tax that we're doing on overtime. It's just going to be taxed regularly, even when you do overtime.
So I'm going to say this again. The thing about this tax code is that it is still a project that has been
Mhm.
given. They are still debating on. Most of the things we're talking about here might be still premature because I know it's going very fast. They want to get this bill out before they go for, I mean, for recess. Maybe within the next 2 months. Our expectation is that this bill would have passed through the House and gone through Congress, and it would have already been signed by the President of the United States. But the key here, when you talk about overtime, the way it is saying is that there is no tax on overtime. Let me tell you something about overtime.
Mhm.
Overtime, the reason people tend to see overtime as being taxed double is because the tax code is a progressive tax bill. The tax code is progressive, which means that if your income is $100,000,
Mhm.
and then you add $1 to it, that $100,000 takes you to, it is in what we call a marginal income tax rate. What is your marginal income tax rate? It is that maximum tax rate in which you find yourself. Because as you go up the ladder in your income, you're gradually moving into higher tax rates until you get to the 37% tax bracket right now.
Mhm.
Now, if you make any additional income at any point in time, that income is taxed at the highest tax bracket in which you find yourself. It's called your marginal income tax bracket. Now, it means that when you work overtime, every additional dollar is taxed, or you feel as if it's taxed double, but it's taxed because it's heavily taxed because it is taxed at that highest income tax bracket. And at times it even goes into another income tax bracket because it's completed the tax bracket in which you find yourself. So what they are saying is that when you get overtime income, you're not going to be charged, you're not going to be charged for that extra revenue that you get because of overtime. That is how it has been proposed now.
Mhm.
But again, it's going through some adjustments within the Ways and Means Commission, within Congress. It's going to go to the Senate before it goes to the presidency for signature. All those things are going, so if they are going to be modified in one form or the other. But what I know for a fact is that very little will be changed to this bill, because that's the way we've seen this guy operate. He operates by bullying people. He operates by different, he use every tactics to make sure that, I mean, there are senators in the House, Congress people in the House who are even unwilling to give their own willful. It's not me saying it. That's what they're saying. Some people cannot freely express their wills because they know that this guy has the current president of the United States has a lot of authority within a lot of
Their jurisdiction.
following, a
Yeah.
lot of following within the Republican Party in such a way that if you're a Republican and you want to stay in your where you are, you have to play the Donald Trump game. And that is why most people, even when they feel like they want to say something in Congress, very few are really voicing their voices out, because again, they want to keep their jobs, they want to keep their position in Congress. They don't want to have a kind of a lash. They don't want to have that. Most of their people lashing out at them and saying, "Hey, they're trying to kick them out of Congress." So that is what we're getting, and whether we like it, we're just going to roll with the way the system is going and hope and see what happens to the system. But I
I
think
think,
that this is going to be a big change to the way
but
we see it. Yes.
for me, I feel like it doesn't really matter what is happening. All you need to do is position yourself. Maybe if you hear that, okay, this is the group of people they are taxing less. If you want to be taxed less, just go position yourself over there. If you feel like, okay, these are the people who are getting the more benefits, if you want to be getting more benefits, go and position yourself there. I think when we come to this thing, what do they call it? The thing that they food stamp and stuff like that. They don't
Yes.
give those to the people who are actually making real crazy money. So
Yes.
it's on you to decide. Either you become a really wealthy person and don't get food stamps, or you stay broke and then you can get food stamp whenever you like. So I just feel like the most important thing for us to do every now and then is to talk to people like you who understand the tax code, that way they interpret. And that is the reason why you keep telling people, come to me before you even start that tax season. Come to me before you start that year, so we can come up with a strategy. We can come up with plans, with things that you're supposed to do, with how you're supposed to position yourself. So by the end of that year, everything is just flowing. Not that you come at the end of the year and then we start looking for, oh, okay, did you mistakenly do this? Did you mistakenly do that? It should be intentional. Boss, yeah,
I'll
go ahead.
tell you one thing. I'll tell you one thing, and this is very important. You see, the new tax code is saying that, okay, for fund managers, they are going to increase they are going to take them out of that carried interest loophole, where basically they were basically taxing their income at long-term capital gains rate. And also the fact that they are going to increase, if you're making over 3 million or such, you're going to increase your tax bracket by another 2 percentage points, which is huge for these people, which is huge. When they say it to these people, these are the people who do strategies the most. They work with strategists the most. So basically, it's like when they give them this and they tell you, hey, on the other hand, all these benefits that were there for people who are investing, like I talk about real estate professional, all those loopholes for real estate professionals, all these type of things, short-term rental loopholes, all these different bonus depreciation, section 1031 exchanges, all these things that are there, they play for these people. So when they get these increased taxes, what are they going to do? They have the other options that are all available to them by just moving. It's just reclassifying this money. It's just a game of chess, as you say. You reclassify the money and you find yourself again still doing the same thing. You just want to work with the right people. If you're out here and your problem is over taxation, there's always a way out. Whether it's the old tax code or the new tax code, there is always systems. There are always things to make sure that the wealthy, the high income earners, the people who are making a lot of money, are able to basically use that money to convert it into wealth. and wealth doesn't pay taxes. This is very important. Wealth doesn't pay taxes. One of the things that is also in there is the estate tax. The estate tax we used to be maximum at $5 million. Today at $5 million, then it went up to 7. Today, estate taxes. If you have an estate, if your estate is anything less than $15 million, you don't even care about estate taxes. You don't care. These are wealthy people type of taxes. They don't care. But if it goes beyond that amount, you use all the strategies that you have to restructure it. So again, the game is around the game. Today, that thing that came up in 2017, the whole goal was that we'll have it as a temporary tax adjustment for the next 4 years, and it's going to expire in 2025. This is 2025. The anticipation is that if nothing happens, all those benefits that people have had for the last 4 years will disappear. Since 2017, for the last 6 years, 7 years or so, will disappear. But now we are at a place where, for sure, there is every guarantee it's not only going to be renewed, it's going to be made permanent. Most of those things are going to be made permanent. That's what the tax code is saying. Again, so if you are out there and you're thinking, this is not for me, or how does this impact me? Contact any tax strategist, any tax advisor who understands how these things work. He'll be able to tell you how this impact you, and you can plan for it now, because it's going to affect your taxes before year end. There are so many things that are going to impact you in one way or the other. Either they increase your taxes or they modify your taxes in one way or the other. Contact your tax advisor so that you can talk beforehand, especially for the higher income earners.
Boss, sometimes people just want to learn not only about the things that are happening, maybe other things. Is there anywhere they can find more of your material?
If you go on my website, you would see a lot of things that we put on there. We have these newsletters that we send out every time. Whenever things like this are happening, today there was a newsletter that went out of which was talking about the new tax code. Everything that's in the tax code, you will see it there. So, and you come on my website, we have a video that I did a video yesterday, it's being edited. It's about this tax code. It's going to be on the website. You can go in there, and every portion of it's going to be on the website. It's going to be we are also pushing it on, it's going to be on YouTube. And you can see that. You go on any of my handles on Facebook, Instagram, or even LinkedIn, you will see we are giving snippets of all these new tax codes going there and how they impact each and every person. Yes.
Well, boss, thank you very, very much for your time. We hope by evening, if all more questions come up, then on Monday we'll answer them. Thank you.
Absolutely. We are going through a very, very changing times. We're going through changing times. There are lots of things that are changing. People who are waiting for benefits, there's a lot changing in that area as well. The tax code is going to be as much as they are reducing the taxes for some people, increasing taxes for others. They are also making sure that benefits that we used to be accustomed to, because the thing about the tax code is the government doesn't want to become meaningless without any income. When they reduce the funding, the source of income, when they reduce the income, guess what? They are going to reduce expenses as well. They want to make sure that we have a balanced budget. For the last, how many years? Maybe 10 years. The United States has just gone down a very, very slippery slope in terms of what we call our debt. The debt ceiling has been moved consistently. It's like every session they're talking about moving the debt ceiling. Today, the debt of the United States is about $35 trillion with a T. That is money that you cannot write on a piece of paper. But again, that is the goal now, is to try to start reducing that debt, is to try to reduce so many of the things that you would have seen happen. Maybe the Doge, this was about identifying the waste. I had a problem with the communication, the way it was being communicated, but the intent was a good intent. The communication was all wrong, but the intent was great. Every time you have an audit in a system, it is aimed at removing all the rubbish that's in that system so that we can improve the system. Today, I don't know whether it's going to be implemented, but if everything that is in that thing is being implemented, it's going to crush some people. It's going to be heavy on some people. But if you look at it in time, you will see that if it's implemented correctly, those who are being affected today, they will quickly find their ways, their feedback on the ground, and it will and find themselves really, really in a better position than they were before. That's my thought.
Boss, thank you very much. We'll see you
Yes.
on Monday.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on this program all the time. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Wow, that was wonderful. That is really good. Whew. It takes somebody who is passionate about what they're doing. It takes somebody who is so into what they're doing. It takes somebody who loves their community to do what he's doing. They research every now and then, and not only coming to share the information with people who put money in his pocket, but sharing the information mostly with everyone. I bet you this man probably already has his clientele or that he can just stay and talk to. But that love for community, that love to see America gets better, because if America gets better, the world gets better. It's probably the reason why he's always out there wanting to share information. Go ahead and share this video. If you need more information on taxes or anything about the economy, you want to check out the website. It's www.chnadvisors, or make sure you're following CHN Advisors or Charles Njoya on every social media platform. Sometimes he does random live videos by himself. Sometimes, like he said, they're sending out newsletters and things like that. You want to have people like this next to you. So they go out there and read that complex tax code systems, and then they just bring to you what is actually needed. Thank you very much for everything. Go ahead and do what you usually do. Comment, let us know what you think, and let us know areas where you want us to address. If there are any concerns, reach out to us inbox. If not, don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on Toridi and on CHN Advisors. See you guys later.